It's an honor to have you here tonight, Donna. We've known each other for a number of years, and what we really want to do tonight is get a conversation going between of us to talk about this journey of 25 years, this journey and this life as a medium. What does it mean to you to be a medium, and kind of where did it all start?
Okay, Cindy, my goodness, I don't know if I can remember back that far. So, oh dear. Well, interestingly, and as I said, it's thanks to everybody for sharing with us this evening. It's just such a special evening, and thanks to you and the team as well, Cindy. I'm just sort of reflecting back and thinking about what does it mean to me to be a medium? Where did it all start? Some of you already might know my story, but if not, then I'm sure you're interested in hearing it, and it's always good fun to hear it again. Because I was never ever going to be a medium. I hadn't got any aspirations to be a medium. I didn't really quite know what one was. I went along to a development group after being introduced to a healer, just to switch it off. I just really wanted to go along, and I remember saying to the class tutor, everybody was talking around the room about their aspirations, what they wanted to achieve. And I said, well, I'm awfully sorry. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm not staying for very long. Could you just switch this off for me? And I can go back to making bespoke wedding cakes and whatever else I'm doing. And I was so naive at the time. I was absolutely clueless. So, and then it transpired very quickly that I realized that I could help people with what I was aware of. So, that was fantastic. And at the time, I think that I was very lucky because I'm very blessed because I didn't know too much about anything. So I wasn't comparing myself to what I thought I should be. All I had was all I had. And so I think that started really well for me. But now, 25 years later, had anybody said to me 25 years ago I would be at this point in life, I would have been absolutely amazed. I think to be a medium is to be a conduit from one source of healing, hope, energy from spirit to somebody that needs it. That's my feeling of being a medium. It's more than being somebody that delivers messages from loved ones. It's about healing. It's about inspiration for people when they need it. It's about hoping to guide and teach people when they need it, and working with the spirit world. So for me, a medium, apart from being the most fantastic honor and being in service to mankind in spirit, is everything to me. But it's a way of life, Cindy. It's never been a job. I haven't worked in 25 years. It's a way of life. It's a part of helping, healing, sharing, and being for those who need it.
Yeah. So Donna, just following on from that, I mean, being a medium and connecting to spirit and working with the spirit world, how do you stay grounded? How do you stay, because you're kind of up there all the time, and kind of how do you stay grounded and focused and keep your energy? What are the things you need to do in order to do that?
Right. Okay. At this point, I feel as though I should reel off a whole list of processes. But and meditation is always a good thing for anyone to stay grounded, and just using those grounding processes. But I always find the best way for me to stay grounded after I've been working with spirit, as I'm very blessed to do so much, is to cook. Get in the kitchen, roll up my sleeves and cook and cook. I love food. I love making food. I grew up in a family where food is a source of nurturing, healing, love, care. You get your fingers messy, you drop something on the floor, you break an egg in your pocket when you lean against you lean against the worktop, and then you eat it and you serve it and you enjoy it. And I find that in between my spirit work, I do things like that. I do housework. I'm a champion cleaner. I love cleaning and just doing really earthly grounded things. But food every time is my go-to when I need to come out of the spirit world and back down to earth.
Isn't that amazing? I have to say it's mine as well.
Wow.
And also because I love, that sharing of food is also connection.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing, eating, that for me is part of the connection. So I find that really, really interesting that is one of your ways of grounding, and doing that.
We've got some great comments coming in, haven't we, about the food?
So never grounded. Nikki, I hope Nikki said I can't cook, so never grounded. Nikki, try gardening or walking in the forest. There are other ways of grounding. Yeah.
Or eating the food of someone who can cook.
Yeah. Donna, through this journey, I mean, has it always been easy, or were there blocks? Were there things that got in your way along the journey? What were the obstacles in because I guess although it was something that you loved, in your career, it was a career. It is a career. It's what you did. It was stepping. How did you do that? I mean, you stepped into your power, and then what were the obstacles as you went along?
Well, I've thought about this, and I'm going to say I can't think of any, Cindy. I have always been so amazingly guided by spirit. I've always found I've needed to be where I've needed to be. If I've not been where I wanted to be, I've kind of always trusted that I wasn't meant to be there. And I've been very, very fortunate. I know sometimes I talk to my colleagues, healers, mediums, and some of them have had some really difficult things that have happened to them because of their beliefs. My family embraced everything with me as I embraced it. My friends embraced it with me. I could talk to people about it. I had good people around me. I mean, obviously I've got a great spirit team. So yeah, I mean, there were highs and lows, I think, sometimes. And I think, like anybody who's in service, I think you can get to a point where you think, I'm so tired. You can get a bit, it's sort of, you can run away with you, and there's not always, perhaps like any kind of service, there's not as much family time as you would sometimes want, those kind of things. But I never experienced any blocks. And one of the amazing things as well is that people have always been very gracious to me, to my face anyway. People have always just been I've not had problems with people being, not everyone got what I did, but no one that I can ever really remember to any magnitude was ever really rude to me or tried to block me. I've just always been really, really fortunate. It's amazing, and it's good to have these thoughts and conversation, because when I look back, I actually can't think of anything seriously major that tried to stop anything. I've always just found myself weaving through.
And I think that must say something about you, that is, when it does get blocked, you found the flow.
Yeah, I think so as well. And also, I've always been of the belief that I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm just here, and I do what I do so that it can offer the opportunity for people to make their own minds up. If people have said to me, I don't believe in what you do, my usual answer to them is, well, have you had any proof of this? And they'll say, well, no. So I say, well, then no one can expect you to believe it until you've had your own experience. And I think that, because I've always felt that way, I've found people don't seem to be confrontational towards me. I've never had that.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, there are a number of students that are on here. And I loved what you said, and maybe just, enlarge on that again, and explaining to people to be open-minded about it, or have they experienced it? And then would you suggest that possibly they go to a demonstration, or what would you suggest to people if they were questioning around the fact that it isn't true, or it hocus pocus? That's what my mother used to call it. What would you suggest our students do, or people on the call?
Sorry, can I just make sure, what would I suggest they do in handling that situation?
Yes.
Okay.
because I think that there are a lot of misconceptions,
Sure.
Donna, about mediumship, and, you know, the old seances, and, you know, the glassy that was, you know, that we were told not to do as children. You know, what do you think? What do you wish that people would do not to have these misconceptions? How can we package it so people don't have misconceptions?
I think there's several things involved. And first of all, can I just tell you, a very good friend of mine, guys, he years ago, lovely medium, Brian Gibson, he used to have a big sign, one of those sticky car signs that says, spiritualists don't always do it in the dark. And I loved that. I thought it was brilliant. And I love a good seance. Anyway, I think one of the thing is, I think always be prepared for, and it says does go out to everybody who's on that path at the moment, always be prepared for the fact that people may have a different opinion to yourself. And I think that if one of the starting places is be truthful, and I think that if you are just honest with someone and ask the question, if they say, oh, I don't believe what you do, because sometimes people, they want to kind of draw you into a conversation about it that can be quite a negative one. And I think always ask the question to them, what do you believe? I always say first thing, if you know what I always want to know what somebody believes, and I don't know what I believe. And then I think you have to gauge the situation very carefully, because some people don't want to take anything forward. But if somebody showed some curiosity, I would certainly say to them, well, have you considered perhaps, as you said, the spiritualist meeting, or going along somewhere, perhaps thinking about visiting a medium? Some people will say, well, yeah, okay, I might consider doing it. And then others will say, no, it's absolute hocus pocus and it's not there and you're all mad. And I always apply humour to it. And I'll always just say, oh, that means I've been talking to myself for the last 25 years. And it just diffuses it. And most people are just like that kind of honesty. You know, but I think it's just, I would say, seriously, everybody, just gauge the situation. If you feel it's confrontation, just diffuse it by asking the person what they believe, you know. And at the end of the day, being able to say, I appreciate we have a difference of belief, and that's fine. That's what makes us all unique.
Yeah. Donna, do you want to talk to us a little bit about one of your most memorable experiences on, you know, you've done a lot of work on TV, you've been on the road for 2 years. I mean, you've really made a journey of a mediumship as a life for you. You know, there's this beautiful journey and these stories. I mean, you know, because there is a bit of the theater in you. You were, I'm going to share a secret, everyone, that I found out about.
Here it comes.
Earlier on today, which I never knew. But Donna used to play the drums. And I did. So she's been this kind of, grew up in a musical family and had this kind of showbiz type of thing. Do you think you need that, Donna? Just a little bit of that kind of showmanship to stand on the platform?
Right, okay, we've got all sorts of different thoughts going on here in my mind. So first and foremost, just to address your last comment, there is a part of us, I believe, that needs to have confidence to stand up and speak for spirit. And I will tell absolutely everybody here in this meeting that if you put me in if I'm at an event that is not about spirit, it's anything else, and I'm expected to talk to people in a room, I am the wallflower. I'm actually a shy person.
No.
It is very true. Because, yeah, honestly, because when I was a singer, I could hide behind the microphone. I played the drums because I wanted to be out there. I love the buzz of just giving, you know, and bringing pleasure to people's faces. And, you know, I always wanted to do that. And I think it did, I think spirit were preparing me, because I was singing my first band when I was 15. And I was in a blues band. You know, my friends were all roller skating on a Friday night and I was kicking out in pubs. pretending I was 18 and old enough to drink. And that, I think, prepared me for, for being able to stand up. But say by default, if I haven't got that energy of doing something, and I can stand up and talk forever on behalf of spirit because you're in the power, but don't put me up there to talk about anything else I don't know about. So yeah, it does take a lot of confidence. I've had some amazing opportunities. I did a lot of work with the late Colin Fry, who was a real gentleman to me, wonderful man, before he passed to spirit. And I was very lucky to stand on some of the biggest stages in the UK, Manchester Opera House, the Watford Coliseum, some of the really big places. And but because I was doing it for spirit, it was the reason to do it. You do get nervous, of course you do. I think it's natural. And can I just say to everybody in this room who's ever stood up in front of an audience to either speak or do philosophy, even if it's your local church service, you will feel those nerves. And I think it's really important that we do. But so it has been a fantastic journey. I love radio, for instance, because I can hide behind the radio. But as long as I've got a reason to speak, I'm okay with that. But I have my hiding moments like everybody else. So and Solo, thank you for that comment. But yeah, when you're in there, and if anybody in the room is thinking they'd like to do platform, they'd like to speak, on behalf of spirit in some way, then they will help you to do it and get up there, because once you're up there in the power, it's not about ego. Can I just say that? And showmanship, I appreciate what you're saying, Cindy. It's a fine line when you work in theatres, because people that go out to the theatre need to have a theatre style evening, and that means being able to talk to people. It means that they want to see some presentation in your mediumship if they go to theatre, like we all do for everything. So you kind of have to learn it. I was very, very fortunate. My first manager was very good at stage presentations, so I had some really good hands-on guidance, because one of the things I used to do was keep knocking the microphone over. I've been waving my arms around and you can hear so, and I always used to forget to talk into it, and all those kind of things. When you're speaking publicly, you need to be able to project your energy into even the biggest room. You need to just be present. Because the thing is, if somebody goes to a theatre evening, and we haven't seen too many of those in recent times, the possibility is you may speak to 10 or 11 people. And however many people there are in the room, that's all those people are not going to get a message of their own. So you have to make them a part of somebody else's.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a very, staying connected to spirit and working with that ego in and out it must be very challenging. Donna, what's the biggest audience that you've had?
Okay, my own biggest audience, just personally myself, is I think about 1,000. When I was working with Colin Fry, we went up to 6,000 at one point.
That is amazing.
It's scary.
That is really, really scary. And Donna, tell me, what preparation would you do prior to that? I mean, is there any spiritual practice that you did to, grounding? You must have had to cook up a storm the day before. but talk about the preparation around that.
Okay, so first of all, I think preparation is a very personal thing. Some people need more of it, some people need less of it. So I think if anybody's sort of listening for tips and hints for preparation here, first of all, I think you have to just do what's right for you. Nobody else can tell you what to do. With myself, if I was, it depends what kind of venue. If I was doing a spiritualist church, I'd make sure I wasn't too busy during the day. I'd make sure that I'd be sending thoughts out to spirit just to see if anyone was around that wanted to connect. and then I'd perhaps feel an energy or have a name or two, and then we'd put that on hold till I got to the venue. If you're doing a larger venue, it takes more preparation because your energy has to be in great shape. So on the day of, one of my theatre evenings, the whole day would be very easy paced. I would, and after 12 o'clock lunchtime, I wouldn't be speaking to anybody, texting people, unless it's urgent family emergency. Then I always make sure I got to the venue really early. And one of the great things about doing some of the bigger venues is that when you've done all the setup and the sound check, then everybody goes, all the crew go. And so that's a perfect opportunity to just go and stand in the middle of the stage where the theatre's empty and just connect with spirit. And what that used to do for me was allowed me to feel where I was going to be in the theatre so that we could work accurately. So I think for me, I think you can over prepare. I have had a tendency in early days to over prepare, and by the time I'd got to wherever I was going, spiritualist church for 10 people or theatre, I'd exhausted myself because I'd tried to go through so much. So finding a balance is really important. Make sure you eat well, everybody. Please don't work on an empty stomach because you're then pulling on your own reserves. So a light meal, maybe take a snack with you. As I said, it doesn't matter on the size of the audience, the principle's the same. And just kind of going, for me, going inside myself in the afternoon of working, just to be quiet. Spirit know that I'm hoping for a connection, and that tends to be my process. It's quite simple, really, but you can overdo it. Try it, guys. Find out what works for you.
And Donna, that ego must play tricks at that time, because you want to deliver well, you want to kind of be good at it, but it needs, how do you keep that humbleness? Because it's again that balance, isn't it, between the show person and being out there and talking, and keeping the balance of not being in the ego or wanting to do it well.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. For me, I've always thought it's not about me. If I didn't have spirit working with me, I wouldn't even be standing where I'm standing. Right. And that is something that is really important to me. And, the other thing is, no matter whether people come for a private reading or they come to a church or a gathering or a theatre, they come usually with 2 or 3 things in common. One of them may be curiosity. Secondly, maybe they just want to observe, and that's part of the curiosity. But most people that go along to those kind of meetings have lost someone they love. Yeah. That is never about showmanship. So my humour comes through. Of course it does, because that's how spirit worked with me. Have we got time for me to just share a little funny?
We have absolutely time. We want to hear the funny, please.
Right. There was one time when the ego came out of the cage. Okay, and it was the first time that I worked. I'm going to name drop here. I worked with Colin Fry again, and he was on at the St David's Hall in Cardiff. Now that is a 5,000 arena, and you can feel like you're like a little ant on the stage. And I was so fortunate to be taken on by his promotion team, and I was aware that I had got the gig that most of my colleagues wanted. And so I'm standing there and we're doing the work, and I used to do the first 20 minutes with Colin. In the second half, I'd go on, I'd do 2 messages in 20 minutes, and that would be my thing. Then we'd sit, and Colin used to have endless patience with people. If anyone out there ever went to see Colin, he would wait for hours and speak to everybody that wanted to speak to him in a big long line. And he would sit me next to him and he would say, "You sign everything I'm signing, okay? So you sign the program with me." And I thought I'd landed. I felt so important. I felt so thrilled, and ever so slightly full of myself. So finished the show, drove home from Cardiff. I got home, and I'm sorry, guys, but this is how it was. And my poor cat had been very ill all over the bathroom, and it was for me to clean up. Cat was fine. So there I am in my black suit that I've had on all evening, my yellow marigold gloves, on my hands and knees with the disinfectant, scrubbing like crazy. And I laughed, and I heard Spirit say, don't ever get above yourself again.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing such a lovely story. Donna, we've got a little surprise for you, something that you didn't know that was going to happen tonight. And I would like to invite Larry Davids to join us on the webinar. Larry is a psychic medium, a Reiki master, a spiritual and sound healer who has studied music therapy to enhance his sound healing skills. He has known Donna for some time as a teacher and a mentor, and I believe his work platform with you. I know he's done it for the school before. I'd like to welcome Larry to share a little bit about his journey with Donna. Over to you, Larry.
Oh. Hi, Larry.
Hello, Donna. Long time no see, and thank you for the introduction, Cindy. And I just want to share a story that, first of all, I could share lots of stories, but I know I don't have much time. I'll make it quick. I've known Donna since 2010 to 11 when I met her for the first time in London through the School of Intuition and Healing in a workshop. I remember the first time I worked, wow, I never met this before, because her teaching was I felt authentic. It was real. There was no feeling of competition that you sometimes find in classes. And I felt like Donna was like able to really tune in to like everybody's needs, whether it was my needs or the other student needs, because as you can imagine, everyone's at different levels when you're in a class situation. And I always felt like, wow, I wonder if I could study with her more. So eventually I did study with her one-to-one on Zoom. And at that time, I was going through a very difficult period in my life through a relationship that was terrible. But it was such a joy once a week to have Donna on, I forget if it was Skype in those days we were using, because I think it was 213 before Zoom. And I always felt so empowered and excited, working with Spirit and her guiding me. But I do want to share a quick little funny story. I think it was in 213 at the School of Intuition and Healing when it was in Kentish Town in London. There was about 20 people. The class or the workshop was full up. It was a one-day workshop. And after lunch, Donna said to me, okay, I'm going to ask you to leave the room and come back when somebody gets you. I said, okay. I thought, this will be interesting. I wonder what she's doing. So a student comes to get me. I go back in the class and everyone's sitting in a circle, really serious looking. So I thought, good grief. And she says to me, I want you to give a link to anyone in the classroom. I said, okay. So I went to this woman on my left. And as I was giving all the information, the woman just kept saying, no, no. So I thought, that's funny. I know I'm getting this. So then I threw it out there and everyone was saying no. So I went back to my original recipient. And then finally, Donna said, you can stop. So what Donna did is she told everyone in the class to say no, no matter what I said or who I went to. So I always remember that exercise because I thought, that was a kind of like a scary exercise, because there I am standing going, it's funny. Why is everyone saying no? I've never experienced that in my life. But what it did teach me was like, you could say the exercise was a bit harsh, but not really, because what it taught me was to really believe whatever you hear, see, or feel. And even as the recipient might say no, to really learn to trust yourself, that you're really connecting with Spirit. So I've never forgotten that exercise. So to this day, when I demo platform in the churches here in London or on Zoom these days, and I hear a no, it always brings my memory back to that class. So I don't go in like panic mode or whatever mode, we can become insecure. Well, I can as a medium sometimes. And so I just want to say thank you so much to Donna for being in my life on my spiritual journey, and still my life on a spiritual journey. And just say I'm looking forward to many more times we can keep working and studying together. So thank you so much, Donna. And thank you, Cindy, for inviting me.
Larry, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and just for honoring and Donna tonight. It's just so lovely to hear the stories. And I remember the days of because I too learned with Donna via Skype with a very broken line that kept on dropping out, and how much we've advanced in the last 10, 12 years on the work we can do. Larry, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we'll be connecting soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Larry. That's so, so kind of you to do that. That's made my eyes water. Thank you. You're a wonderful medium.
Donna, coming on to the tutoring part of your journey, I mean, it's one thing standing up and doing messages and sharing that with loved ones. But as part of your service and part of these 25 years, you've shared so much of your knowledge with others. Tell me about your teaching journey, the highlights, what is it? I mean, because for me, you're a great medium, but you're a brilliant teacher.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. And it's lovely to have been speaking about the mediumship, because I've had a wonderful journey with that. But I just absolutely love sharing with people. I love the concept that we can all do something for spirit, and you don't have to be a professional medium to do that. You can connect with spirit to enrich your own life, to share with somebody else. But the interesting thing was, I was never going to be a tutor either. I was never going to teach anything. And the way that it started was just simply that I think about a couple of years into my journey as a medium, our local spiritualist church used to have a circle on a Friday night, and it was a new circle, and there were quite a few people in it. And my job was to go along and support, and just the president used to teach at the church, and I used to do the teas and the coffees. So I was the really important person, because I served tea and biscuits afterwards. And I used to put the chairs out, and I used to wash up, and and just do that. And just watching, I never used to take part. I used to just sit and observe. And then one day the president of the church phoned me, and she said, I really don't want to run this circle anymore. She got a lot of difficulty, challenges about time. And she said, so I'm handing it to you. So you can either keep it running or we'll close it. And I went, oh, okay. Right, I'll think about this. So when we had a lovely group of people together, I think I had about 16 to 17 people. So, I didn't want to close the doors on them. So I sat with spirit, as I've always done, and I've always taken my counsel to spirit for their guidance and advice. And what came back to me was, if I was prepared to listen and be guided by them, they would give me what was needed. And so we started, I went back to the church and I said, look, the president can't run this anymore. I would make the tea and the chairs, but if you want to stay together, I'll try and stay together until we can find somebody else that can come in and teach you. And it just grew and it flourished, and spirit were very, very, I've always been very blessed to have a very sharp and clear link with spirit. And I just used to find I was talking and talking and talking, and also used to draw on some of my own exercises that I'd been shown when I was developing. And we just kind of did that. And then about 6 months into the journey, loving my Friday nights, the president called me. She said, I'd like my group back now, please. So I said, okay, that's fine, we can do that. So I talked to the group and I said, this is what's happening. And they said, but we want to stay with you. So I said, well, we can't, I don't think we can stay in the church. But to be honest, it was a difficult situation to be in, because I'd been handed this opportunity by the president and I didn't feel it was mine to keep. And then one of the ladies said, well, look, if we can't use the church, let's use my local village hall. And so I took this very awkward conversation to the church president. And I thought, no, actually what we're doing here is right. And those that want to stay in the church will. And so we started, and it just went from there. And it's just been extraordinary. I have no formal teaching experience, but I've always listened to spirit, and I've always gone with what I felt was so important. And spirit have always guided me to look at people's energy, to be able to be aware of what they need, to be able to help them and nurture them. And because as a tutor, I could never have the concept of ever telling a student off or telling them they weren't good enough. It's not my way. So, and it just went, Cindy, it just went from there. It just, one thing went into another, and then other groups started, and then people came. Then I, over the years, and found myself working overseas, different organisations. It just grew. It's another one of those beautiful situations where I just always tried to stay in the power and trust that spirit will place me where it was needed. Then, of course, I went to the College of Psychic Studies, and that's where I met Sue, our gorgeous Sue Allen. And when she started the School of Intuition and Healing, I said, well, look, you know, you've not invited me because I was working for the college, but by the time there was coming to an end, and I said, so can I come with you? And she said, yes, please. And then, you know, and everything else had just kind of gone in from there. People come for one-to-one tuition. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just do what I do, and it just keeps growing. So, you know, that's kind of it, really. But I think the important thing for anybody who's listening on this call that wants to be a tutor is just go from here. Never here, always here. Go from your heart. Do it because you love it. Do it because you want to see people in touch with their own spirit guides, their energy. You know, it's a bit like the parable, isn't it? About, you know, do you give a man a fish, or do you give them a rod to fish forever with? And I think that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah. And Donna, as you're talking, I just get this image of this mushrooming out, because we talk about connecting people to their loved ones and the healing that takes place. So the more people who have the ability to connect to spirit for others, it just then grows that energy of collective healing, which I think is really, really important and powerful. And especially at these times, I think that connection with spirit and that support that we have from our guides. I have a question. Do you have separate teams? Do you have a teaching spirit guide team and a platform team, or how are your guides kind of the same team, or are they different guides for different things that you do?
Okay, that's a very good question. I'm afraid that all sounds very complicated to have different people for different jobs. So I've got a one guide does all. And there are people that do help on the team. My main guide is Takana, who I know some of you know, and he works with me when I'm demonstrating, doing one-to-ones. His teaching is amazing. Yeah, a lot of the exercises that come from Team Takana, as I call them. He works with me, Swiss Army knife of guides. Well done, Sola, that's great. Yeah, so he kind of looks after everything. He speaks for me in trance. But he has other helpers. So that's originally I had a beautiful energy by the name of Tom. He was my first energy, and then he handed me over to Kana after 2 years because he'd taken me as far as he could. So, but Tom is still around and recently put in an appearance again. He kind of just looks after everything in the background and checks in on me to make sure I'm staying on the straight and narrow with it. So, but that works for me. Other people, again, there's no rules here. This is the trouble. People get caught up in rules. I should be doing, I'm not doing this right because somebody else isn't doing it the same. You just got to find what works for you. And when you've got that, you get that confidence and that knowing. So if you're somebody who needs a different guide for different things, perfect. Nothing wrong with that. You know, I know that you might have, some of you may have different healing guides, different trance guides. But for me, that's how it works for me. It may not work for someone else, but your guide team will always work with each and every one of you in the way that is right for you and for them. And it's really good when you find that connection and how they want to do that.
Thank you. That's, yeah, interesting, because I have different guides for different things. So it's amazing how our personalities also connect to different things.
I don't think anyone else would have me, actually, Cindy. I think
no, I don't.
His constitution is tough.
I disagree. You know what is coming through so strongly while you're talking, Dana, is this incredible trust that you had for spirit to put 25 years, almost your faith totally in this information that you were getting. And I think that is remarkable that you've been able to have that trust with spirit. And I just really want to say that I just hear this huge sense of trust that there's this guide or these couple of guides that have guided you, and just being able to, because I think it's a confidence thing, and how you were able to always maintain the confidence. And moving on from confidence, my next question would be, have you ever stood on platform or been with a client and not connected to spirit? And if so, how did you manage that? Because that feeling of, oops, I'm not getting any messages, has that ever happened?
Okay, a great question. And I know it's something I think people are curious about. I'm not going to say no, it's never happened, because that wouldn't be accurate. What I have experienced is when I've made a connection to spirit, but the recipient is not able to understand or take the information. And it may be that perhaps I and the spirit between us, we haven't got the strongest link. It happens, you know. It may be that they couldn't give me enough information. Or there was only one time I do remember when, as soon as a lady and gentleman came in and sat down with me, the connection completely shut down and I had to stop the reading. I was aware of an energy. So yes, I've always been aware of something, but it didn't go any further. And when afterwards I asked spirit, you know, what happened there? What was given to me was that, and it's quite rare because there's certain information we don't have access to. What came to me was the thought that the lady was actually about to pass to spirit, and the gentleman was going to ask me how long she had, and they were present in the room, and for that reason it was not right for them to know. Right. So rather than even let the question get to that point, they had difficulty finding me. They came to visit me at home. They were quite stressed. I mean, I comforted them. I made them a cup of tea. I talked to them about all the reasons why it might not work. So you have to do that. You know, you have to help people to understand why not. And then 3 months later, the gentleman came back to me because his wife had passed and said, "Now I understand." But I would say, just in a nutshell, really, if you're aware of an energy but you can't make it work for someone, it's because it's not meant to work. Something is preventing that. Either that person is not ready to receive it, or spirit can see that it might have more detrimental consequences than positive ones, and it just doesn't work. And I think all I would say to anyone is, if you're trying to make a connection that doesn't work, please just be honest and tell them.
I think that is brilliant advice, and rather than trying to wing it or get into the ego or whatever else. So thank you for being honest about that, Donna. We have a question from the audience, from Roxanne, which is a great question. Do you feel anyone can connect and act as a channel for spirit?
Okay, I believe that anyone is aware of energy, because we're all energy. We come from energy, we are energy. So I do believe that it is possible for everyone to connect at some level, either on a psychic vibration with someone else's energy, certainly on a psychic vibration. When it comes to connecting with spirit, and please know this is not because it's an exclusive club, that it does just take a certain type of sensitive mind that we can't necessarily explain all of those sensitivities that allow us to connect. I believe we all have the capacity to feel our own loved ones, and many of us have the capacity to feel other people's loved ones. But I've known people before that have only ever been aware of the psychic, but have not gone into the connections with spirit. And that can be for lots of different reasons. It may be because they don't particularly want to, which is fine. Some people are quite happy working with the psychic vibration. So what I would say is, I believe everybody can feel energy at some point, but there are some people who, for whatever reason, their makeup, the DNA, their emotional body, perhaps don't feel spirit. And if I haven't explained that well, or have caused confusion, then whoever asks the question, please tell me.
So, guys, before we go on further, Donna, I have another little surprise up my sleeve this evening.
Cindy,
and I would like to invite Cherise Reed onto the webinar, a conscious mother of 2 beautiful children, an experienced and accredited spiritual counselor with the Complementary Medicine Association, an advanced Reiki practitioner, a writer, a poet, and a conscious parent expert. Welcome, Cherise, and please share a little bit about your journey with Donna.
Hi, Cherise.
Hi, Donna. I'm so happy to be here for you. Do excuse my throat, I'm just recovering from a bit of a virus, but you look fabulous, and I'm really happy to be asked to share a few words about you. I've been a student of yours for about 18 months now, and it has just been the most transformational experience for me. I did write a few things down because I just thought it'd be really good to reflect, because I've just studied and trained and gone with the flow, and I hadn't really acknowledged the milestones, but really the points in the journey that have been really helpful to my development, you know. And I was thinking about when I first had an interview with you, and I just was so lacking in self-confidence, plagued by self-doubt. Can I do this? And I didn't actually know much about you as a person and about your service and your history. But the way you connected with me via the phone, the way you kind of intuitively just tuned into me, it just made me feel relaxed. And I thought, okay, yeah, this is the course for me. One of the things you said to me was about, I think at the time I was going through some stuff as well. And you said, look, you know, if you're going through too much and your emotions are too high, then it's going to be very difficult for you. And that sort of stuck with me, because as I've developed and opened up for spirit, it's also impacted my emotional development. But one of the things that I've really valued that you've brought to the classes is having that space for checking in, for bringing the lightheartedness. The sessions are always fun and engaging. And I think what I really value, Donna, is that you respect each person's individual process. And that for me just shows your integrity. It shows your authenticity and your professionalism, all of that. And I just feel really, really grateful to have worked with you and to have been mentored by you and supported by you. You know, the groups have always had this community feel, this real safe and supportive place, which for someone like me, I couldn't have unfolded in the way that I have without that. And I just think it's a testament to to who you are. It feels more than just, you know, you're a medium, and it's all of what you encapsulate and what you bring. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm getting all emotional now because it just feels. I just feel really grateful, and it's, you know, your mentorship has helped me to continue to want to develop. I'm excited and inspired, you know. So yeah, here's to more and seeing what else the future holds. But yeah, I just wanted to say that to you, and all the best.
Oh, Cherise, thank you. I am so deeply touched. Never mind all this shouldn't cry as a professional. My mascara is now going out the window. Bless you. Thank you. Keep going. Just keep smiling. You're an awesome medium. Just keep reaching for spirit and be yourself.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love to you.
Cherise, thank you so much for joining us, and also Larry. It's been wonderful to have you here and just to express from somebody else's point of view the meaning that Donna has. And I'd like to just add for myself that, you know, dealing with Donna as a tutor at the school, she is one of the most professional tutors. She's always there. She always shows up. You know, it's amazing what she does, not only for the loved ones, but also how she's helped and guided myself and many, many other students through their journeys, and not just through their mediumship journeys, the healing within. You know, we're hearing that the, you know, the transformation by doing this work.